Miami-Dade leaders are refuting the tone of the dire warnings from the now former solid waste director that the county is running out of room for its trash. The former director raised the red flags in his resignation letter this week that without a move to expand waste facilities, the county would have to stop all building, residential and commercial, by next year. The mayor and several commissioners from across the political spectrum called his words alarmist and off base, while acknowledging the need to move forward and say they are doing so. No question, Miami-Dade will be getting one or more new trash processing facilities to accommodate the growing amount of garbage. Part of the planning underway by this woman right there. Mayor Daniella Levine Cava is here to talk trash with us today, so to speak. Mayor, great to see you, and thank you for being with us.
Always. Thank you, Glenna.
So that resignation letter kind of vaulted Miami-Dade waste into the public consciousness. No one really thinks about getting rid of their trash until they can't or something goes wrong. So it sounded pretty serious. And I think from a public perspective, really, we uncovered some tensions there in the trash department. But the real headline, I think, was that advisement of a moratorium on building. Take us through that. You said that was alarmist. We talked earlier in the week. Take us through what is the story there?
Yeah, thank you so much, Glenna. Look, we always are working on ways to improve our trash collection system. We know, yes, we have landfills. We also had the incinerator, which of course burned down. So the incinerator was an important part, the waste to energy plant of our solution. We have recycling, and so many aspects to it. So we have collected trash throughout, despite the closure of the Covanta waste to energy plant due to the fire. Nobody has faced any problems with garbage pickup. We've expanded our use of landfill in other parts of the state and with commercial landfill operations. And so while we're working diligently to come up with a comprehensive approach, we have a short-term solution, and we're working on a longer-term strategy, which we'll be presenting shortly. So nothing in that letter was a secret. It was all in previous communications with the board, and we're working diligently to address all of it.
That fire in February that took the Covanta incinerator offline, that actually exacerbated and kind of put on the front burner a lot of the planning that was going on. And you talk about things that I think a lot of people may not realize. We're looking at it now in its burned form. This incinerated about half the trash in the county so that landfills weren't needed. It got rid of it, it was away, and turned it into energy. So it's not just a trash facility, it's actually, you called it a waste to energy, and that's what it means. It actually reduces the need for the landfill. So the short-term solution is in place. Long-term, originally, it was to be rebuilt because it is 40 years old on that site. That site now, though, is in the middle of a residential area in Durrell. So that plan was scrapped. Where does the future of these kind of facilities go when you have a county still under development with people who say, not in my backyard?
Yeah, it's certainly a very complex situation with lots of options that we have to thoroughly develop and understand. And we have new approaches to dealing with waste. So we don't want to just do the status quo. We want to look at all of those opportunities. We're looking at approaching zero waste. We know we'll never be totally zero waste.
How do you do that? How do you get to zero waste? No, that is a very sincere question. How do you do that?
Yes. Well, everybody has to be part of the solution. We all have to reduce our use and production of waste. We have to do a better job of recycling. We have to reuse as much as possible. They say refuse is in the equation. Composting is a part of the equation because I think it's about 40% of our trash is actually compostable. So we have to come up with ways to deal with trash in different ways so that we are having less of it that needs to be landfilled. So that's what we're doing. We're exploring all of those opportunities, putting together a comprehensive update so that people can make hard choices and also figure out how we're going to pay for all of this.
And we will talk about that in just a minute. The the letter, this resignation letter, was 5 pages long. Most of it was accomplishments of the solid waste department over this now former director's tenure. And then there was this warning that next year, the county's own rules mandate that unless there's 5 more years worth of capacity for trash, there has to be a building moratorium until there is. So he says it's next year it's going to run out. It will stop. It will stop being 5 years worth of capacity. Is that accurate?
So this is a state law. It's not really just local. And naturally, that's why we've come up with alternatives, aggressive alternatives, because a good percentage had been going to the Covanta waste to energy plant. The estimates that we've seen vary depending on circumstances. We're not alarmed. We think we have strategies for building out the timeline, and that's how we're proceeding.
The plan that you were talking about, I think the original intention was to present in June last month. Now it's September. I think at the commission meeting this week, I heard you say that you'll begin to brief commissioners in the coming weeks. So that's kind of happening right now. Can you give us a preview of what's in that plan?
Yes, thanks. So first of all, the report that's coming now in September at the direction of the board, right, is specifically on the siting of a waste to energy plant. So as you've said, it could take place at the same site in Doral. There were other sites that were proposed and have been evaluated by a consulting firm, Arcadis. I was briefed in detail this week about all of those options. And of course, we're going to be bringing something to the board. But we are also bringing a broader, longer term strategy that includes other aspects, whether we can improve our recycling, our composting, other methods that exist now that maybe did not exist in the past. So we do have to have a midterm solution. We have the short term, we have to have a midterm. And then if we're going to build out some of these other opportunities, they will take longer. And we need to have the board's support, really policy decisions for the whole community looking ahead.
Can you detail some of those other options?
Well,
what don't we know?
For example, we have a very poor recycling rate, high levels of contamination, it's called. So when you recycle the wrong things, like you put plastic bags or you put plastic, you put your recyclables in plastic bags, that's contamination. And then that whole load cannot be recycled. People have what's called aspirational recycling. So we urge everyone to go online to our Miami-Dade County Waste Recycling website, and they can get all the specifics to recycle correctly. That is very important because we're ending up throwing away stuff that could be recycled. We also could explore composting. Some businesses are doing composting. We have currently our Division of Environmental Regulation, DERM, looking at composting of certain materials. So that's an important strategy as well. And then we're open to other strategies. People are approaching us all the time with new technologies that can improve our, reduce our waste, basically.
The future of waste. All right, I have 2 more questions about the site and the costs. And I think the site question, a lot of people, especially in areas where this incinerator might be going, want to hear. So we will take a quick break and be back in a few minutes with that. We are back with Miami-Dade Mayor Daniella Levine Cava talking trash. Literally, Mayor, I want to talk about the sites of potentially new incinerators, new, bigger, more high-tech incinerators. One in the North Dade area, one in the South Dade area, I think is what I read is the proposal so far. So the one that was supposed to be rebuilt in Doral was built when there were no residents of Doral. That was kind of the outskirts. Now it's the inskirts in the middle of everything, and boy, has there been an uproar there. How do you place and deal with the potential population that might not exist yet, but may, when looking at where these new incinerators and all the infrastructure around them are going to go?
Mhm. Yes, thanks, Glenna. It is really complicated because some of the sites that are being explored are outside the urban development boundary. That has consequences potentially for other development outside urban development boundary. Then there's issues of connection to infrastructure, proximity to residences, whether there are other facilities in the area that might be polluting. So many factors that are going into this site selection. And also, just to point out, again, there may be a kind of midterm solution and a longer term solution. So, we have not even received the costs yet for what it would even be to rebuild or restart at the Covanta plant just with the waste to energy component. We don't have that information, so we're not even fully with the facts to make a decision. But we obviously will move forward with the information we have. And I just want to emphasize, to put it into a bigger context, we have to have a long-term solution, one that will be environmentally appropriate, long-term save taxpayers money, and that is also what we're trying to do. In the midst of coming up with something to deal with the landfill capacity, we also need to look into the future for something that we think the public will really appreciate, because it will be long-term, environmentally friendly and cost-effective.
Yeah, trash is all about the money and the environment and the capacity and the politics, and there's a lot of moving parts here. Is there any indication that that plant may well be rebuilt in that place? Because since, and in the past couple of months, especially since the fire, there have been some studies showing the toxicity in the air and airborne illnesses that the neighborhoods around might be subject to. Now there is a huge outcry from the communities around it. Is there any possibility that's going to restart there?
So, Glenna, it's definitely one of the choices that is in the study. So we are looking at all of those options. Obviously, we want to do the very best by our residents. We don't want to cause any challenges or illnesses. There's a plant up in West Palm that is more modern technology, that doesn't smell. It has other features that make it more desirable, but it's really too early to say. We definitely are very mindful of the concerns of the residents of Doral, and very mindful that we have to do our very best by our residents, as well as to dispose of our waste. That's why we need to come up with a long-term solution.
This week at the commission meeting, one of your commission colleagues, Anthony Rodriguez, was saying that the proposed, in a ballpark, $30 a year fee that may have to be an increase this year. So that's a couple of dollars a month, I suppose, still a rate hike. He said that might not have to happen if there are options like from the general fund, or I suppose things that you're going to be putting in your plan. What do you see in that respect?
Yes, definitely solid waste has told us that their needs are much greater than that proposed rate hike. In essence, it would be kind of delaying for the future some of the costs that will need to be addressed. And we'll see what the disposition of the board will be. They'll be reviewing that rate hike along with the total budget picture. Of course, the budget gets reviewed in September. We'll be putting out our proposed budget by July 15th. So stay tuned.
That is what we do. We are staying tuned. Mayor, thanks so much. Appreciate you being with us today, as always.
Thank you, Glenna, and thanks to your listeners.